Okay, so get this. You want to know what men really want?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about a deep dive, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with this one, we are going deep into the male psyche.
Absolutely.
You guys have sent us a ton of quotes from men
Uh-huh.
from all these different platforms,
Mm.
just talking about their relationships, their desires and frustrations.
Yeah.
No filters, no sugarcoating, just raw honesty.
Raw and unfiltered.
And I love it.
This is a really unique opportunity to hear their voices.
Right.
So often they get drowned out in these conversations about relationships.
Absolutely. And our mission here isn't to hand out relationship advice.
Right.
We're not playing therapist here.
No.
We are just here to unpack these insights and understand where they are coming from.
Yeah.
And maybe even challenge some of our own assumptions along the way.
Absolutely.
We're talking about respect being more important than love for some men, feeling invisible, even when they're the provider, and just navigating this emotional minefield where expressing anything other than anger is a no-go.
These are complex issues for sure.
Yeah.
They reflect those shifting dynamics between men and women, but also the influence of traditional gender roles.
Absolutely. And you know what really struck me?
Mm-hmm.
As we were going through all these quotes,
Yeah.
the sheer number of times the word respect came up.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the foundation of everything for a lot of these guys.
The bedrock.
One quote that really just hit home was, "Men value respect much more than adoration or love. Disrespectful jokes or belittling remarks can really impact the quality of the relationship."
It makes you think.
It does.
Yeah, it goes deeper than just wanting to be treated politely.
All right.
It's about wanting to be treated politely.
Uh-huh.
But I think this emphasis on respect might actually be rooted in those traditional masculine roles that we were talking about.
Right.
So you think about it, men were historically judged by their ability to provide and protect, to lead. Respect then becomes a way to validate their worth in those roles,
Uh-huh.
a confirmation that they're meeting those expectations.
And when that respect is missing, it's like the whole foundation starts to just crumble.
Yeah, it crumbles.
It makes sense why so many men see disrespect as like a deal breaker.
Right.
It chips away at their sense of security and trust in the relationship.
Precisely. And that's where I think that disconnect can happen.
Okay.
Because sometimes without even realizing it, we might engage in behaviors that our partners perceive as disrespectful, even if that's not our intention.
Right.
What might seem like a harmless joke can actually land as a blow to their ego,
Right.
especially if it touches on those sensitive areas like competence and masculinity.
So then how do we bridge that gap?
Well,
Because clearly communication is key here.
oh, absolutely. All boils down to communication.
Yeah.
It's about being mindful of the language we use,
Yeah.
even in the heat of an argument.
Right.
We have to remember that words have power. And what might seem like a minor jab to one person can be a major wound to another.
It's like walking through a minefield.
It is. It really is.
Right.
But if we're aware of those potential triggers,
Uh-huh.
then we can navigate it more carefully.
Okay, now get this.
Okay.
There's this other really fascinating dynamic that kept popping up. And we're kind of calling it the princess paradox.
Okay.
Okay, so we see these men that want to take care of their partners,
Yeah.
be the provider, do those chivalrous things.
Yeah.
But they also crave this sense of partnership.
Uh-huh.
Like they want to be equals,
Equal.
not just knight in shining armor catering to a princess's every whim.
This is where things get really interesting.
Right.
Because you've got a potential clash here between what some women believe is attractive,
Yeah.
being pampered, put on a pedestal, and what men actually find fulfilling.
Okay.
And it's not about men wanting to be controlling. It's about wanting to feel appreciated for who they are, not just what they can do for you.
It's like this one anecdote we came across. This guy was talking about how much he enjoys doing things for his partner. Cooking for her, surprising her with gifts. But he said there's a difference between doing those things out of love and feeling obligated or manipulated.
Right.
Like he wants to make her happy,
Uh-huh.
but he also wants to feel like an equal partner,
Yeah.
not just a means to an end.
It makes perfect sense.
That makes sense.
It does. And it highlights this really crucial point, reciprocity.
Right.
Relationships thrive on this balance of give and take.
Right.
It's not about keeping score, but it is about making sure both partners feel valued and appreciated.
Right.
And so if a man feels like he's constantly constantly catering to his partner's needs
Yeah.
without receiving that same level of care and consideration in return,
Right.
Resentment can build.
And that can poison the whole relationship.
It can.
So we've got respect as the foundation.
Yeah.
This tricky princess paradox to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
What else is brewing in the minds of men, you ask? Buckle up, because communication is about to get real.
Okay, real. All right. A lot of these men feel like they're stuck in this communication maze.
Yeah.
They're constantly trying to decipher some secret code.
Right.
And it's leading to a lot of frustration.
Oh, yeah. One guy just straight up said,
What'd he say?
men do not see or understand hints.
Hmm.
If you want something, ask for it.
That's pretty clear.
It is, right?
I think it highlights how men and women are socialized so differently.
Okay.
Like, men are often encouraged to be direct problem solvers.
Right.
So when they're faced with this indirect communication,
Uh-huh.
it creates confusion.
Yeah.
And they almost feel like they're failing some kind of test.
Like they're walking on eggshells all the time.
Yeah.
And that ties into another theme that came up a lot, which is men's emotional landscape.
Oh.
We're talking about a whole lot of bottled up feelings here.
So many bottled up feelings.
Right. And it's like societal expectations really play a role in that. I mean, for generations, men have been told to suppress their emotions,
Right.
to be strong and stoic.
Yeah.
You know.
Like, boys don't cry.
Boys don't cry, exactly, and it takes a toll.
Big time. One quote that I think about a lot is,
Yeah.
men experience a wide range of emotions,
Uh-huh.
but often only feel comfortable expressing anger.
It's kind of heartbreaking when you think about it.
It is.
You know, it suggests that they're feeling things deeply,
Yeah.
but they just don't have the tools or the permission to express them in a healthy way.
And it can lead to so many problems
Absolutely.
for the individual and for the relationship.
Both.
Yeah, when men are constantly suppressing those emotions,
Uh-huh.
it can manifest as anger outbursts or withdrawal or even physical health issues.
Like a pressure cooker just waiting to explode. Right. And then we have this whole other thing about how men and women just process emotions differently.
Oh, totally.
And we saw that reflected in a lot of these quotes.
Yeah.
Where men are talking about needing time and space
Right.
to deal with things internally before they can even talk about it.
And it's such an important point
Yeah.
because it challenges this assumption that men should always be ready
Uh-huh.
to have these deep emotional conversations, like on demand.
Right.
You know, sometimes they need to process things in their own way,
Right.
on their own time.
It's like men retreating to their man cave.
Exactly.
Sometimes they have to go fight that metaphorical bear before they can come back and engage.
Yeah, and it's not about avoiding emotions.
Right.
It's about different coping mechanisms.
Exactly. And instead of judging those differences,
Yeah.
we need to try to understand them.
Understand them.
You know, maybe it means giving them the space they need.
Yeah.
Or maybe it means learning to communicate our own needs in a way that doesn't feel like an attack.
Absolutely. Communication is key.
Okay, now for a topic that's a little more sensitive,
Okay.
but definitely needs to be addressed,
Right.
the darker side of relationships. Those times when things escalate into conflict or even manipulation or violence.
Right. And I think it's crucial to recognize here that relationships aren't always sunshine and roses.
No, they're not.
You know, sometimes they can be really challenging.
Yeah.
And sometimes those challenges can take a dark turn.
One quote that really stood out to me was, words can hurt and leave a scar much longer than bodily wounds.
Wow.
Wounded women go straight for the jugular.
That's pretty intense.
Right.
Yeah. It highlights the power of language.
Uh-huh.
You know, emotional abuse can be just as damaging as physical abuse.
Right.
And it can leave these deep wounds that take a long time to heal.
And for men, there's often this added fear of being falsely accused or having their reputations tarnished.
It's like they're walking a tightrope, trying to navigate their emotions and their actions in a world where the rules feel very different.
Yeah, and that fear is understandable,
Oh, yeah.
you know, given the potential consequences.
Of course.
And it points to this larger issue,
Which-
this perception of double standard
Or the double standards.
in relationships.
Yeah, we saw this come up a lot
Oh, so much.
in those quotes, particularly around infidelity.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like there's this idea that men are judged more harshly for cheating,
Oh.
while women are often seen as victims.
Do you think there's any truth to that?
It's complicated. You know, infidelity is a betrayal of trust.
Right.
And it can be devastating for both partners.
Yeah.
But I do think there's some truth to the idea that the way we view and react to infidelity can be influenced by gender stereotypes.
It's like that quote about how men are labeled as dogs.
Right. Dogs who will never change.
But women are given more empathy and understanding.
More empathy, more understanding.
Right. It feels like there's this unspoken script.
Oh, for sure, that we're all kind of following. We are. Even if we don't even realize it. Yeah. And it impacts everything. Yeah. From how we express our emotions, to how we deal with conflict, to how we view forgiveness and reconciliation. Absolutely. So how do we break free from that script?
It's about challenging those ingrained scripts.
Okay.
And having these open and honest conversations about what we expect from each other, what we're willing to tolerate, and ultimately how we can build relationships that are based on mutual respect and understanding.
Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that came up repeatedly in these quotes.
Yeah.
The importance of male friendships.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like these guys really value those bonds of camaraderie and that shared experience.
This is something that's often overlooked, I think, when we talk about relationships. Men need those connections, those spaces where they can just be themselves without judgment.
There was this one quote that I really liked. What was it?
It said, men simply need other men to do men's stuff with. No utility, no performance, similar taste in humor.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to this deep need.
A deep need.
For belonging.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
For feeling connected to others who share your interests and your values.
Well, absolutely. And it's not just about having fun.
Right.
It's also about having a support system. You know, a group of guys who have your back no matter what.
And yet we often hear these stories about women feeling threatened by their partner's male friendships.
Yeah, like their competition for their attention and affection.
And that's where I think communication and trust are just so vital.
It's about recognizing that these friendships serve a valuable purpose and they don't diminish the importance of the romantic relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about finding that balance. Recognizing that everyone needs different types of connections in their lives.
Absolutely.
And we can't expect our partners to fulfill every single need. And sometimes those friendships provide a unique kind of support and understanding that we just can't offer.
And when we try to control or restrict those friendships, it can backfire and create resentment and distance in the relationship.
Okay, we can't talk about what men want without addressing, I guess, what some might call the elephant in the room. Physical attraction. Let's be real, it's a factor.
It is a factor.
And the quotes we read definitely suggested that men are visually oriented. And they do value physical attractiveness in their partners. But it's not as simple as just wanting a trophy wife.
It's more than that.
It's about that spark of attraction, right?
That feeling of desire. That keeps a relationship exciting and passionate. And for a lot of men, that visual element plays a role in that.
But it's not the whole story.
No, it's not the whole story.
Remember that quote about how some men feel turned off?
Oh, yeah.
By women who are overly confident or independent?
Yeah.
It's like this fear of being emasculated.
Right, or feeling inadequate.
Right. And I think it speaks to the complexities of evolving gender roles.
Absolutely.
And how they impact our relationship.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Between those traditional notions of masculinity and femininity. And embracing the strengths and qualities of both partners.
Like we're still figuring out what those roles look like in the 21st century.
Exactly. But it's clear that for a lot of men, there's still a desire for a partner who embodies those traditional feminine qualities of nurturing, supportiveness, and warmth.
And it's not about wanting women to go back to some outdated stereotype.
No, not at all.
It's about recognizing that different qualities attract us to each other.
Right. And those qualities can really complement each other in a relationship.
One quote that I think captured this dynamic really well was, men want peace and women want constant attention, stimulation, and chaos to feel alive.
It's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
But it highlights those different ways that men and women approach life and relationships.
And it's not about saying one way is better than the other.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing those differences.
Right.
And finding ways to bridge them.
And sometimes that means accepting that we'll never fully understand each other, but we can still appreciate and respect those differences.
And maybe those differences can even add spice and excitement.
Absolutely. Spice and excitement.
To the relationship.
For sure.
Speaking of spice.
Okay.
I think it's time we tackle one last big theme.
All right, let's do it.
Men's sense of purpose
Hmm.
and how that ties into their relationships.
This is fascinating.
It is.
It gets to the heart of what motivates them
Right.
and what they seek in a partner.
These quotes we read
Yeah.
really suggest that men have this deep-seated need to feel like they're providing
Uh-huh.
and protecting
Right.
and making a difference in the world.
It's about making an impact.
It's like they need to feel like they're winning, not just in their careers,
Yeah.
but also in their relationships.
And it goes back to those traditional masculine roles we talked about.
Right. But it's more than just fulfilling a stereotype.
It is. It's about feeling valued and respected for their contributions.
Right.
It's about feeling like they're making a positive impact on the world around them.
And when that sense of purpose is missing,
Mm-hmm.
it can really take a toll on their relationships.
It can.
Remember that quote
Yeah.
about how men are tired?
Mm-hmm.
In the modern world, nothing we do is good enough.
It's a feeling of disillusionment
It is.
and frustration.
Yeah.
You know, they're putting in the effort. They're trying to meet those expectations, but they don't feel like they're getting the recognition they deserve.
It's like they're stuck on this treadmill, running and running,
Yeah.
but never reaching the finish line.
And that can lead to resentment, withdrawal,
Well-
and even a loss of intimacy in the relationship.
Right? And so it's crucial to recognize how important it is to affirm and support men
Yeah.
in their endeavors,
Support them.
inside and outside of the relationship.
Inside and outside, absolutely.
Celebrate their successes,
Uh-huh.
acknowledge their efforts.
And make them feel like their contributions are valued.
Exactly. And create a space where they feel safe
Yeah.
to express those doubts and frustrations,
Absolutely. Right.
knowing that they'll be met with empathy and understanding.
Because when men feel supported and appreciated, they're much more likely to bring their best selves to the relationship.
So after this deep dive into the minds of men,
Mm-hmm.
what's the takeaway
Yeah. What can we all learn?
from this exploration?
Mm.
I mean, it's like we've uncovered this whole web of
Yeah.
needs and desires.
Yeah. A lot of them are deeply rooted in traditional masculinity,
Right.
but others are reflecting, I think, the changing landscape of relationships.
And it's interesting how all of these themes just intertwine.
They do.
We see respect as that cornerstone.
Yeah.
Communication as like the bridge.
Right.
And this need for both partnership and purpose.
Driving men's desires.
Yeah. And don't forget that desire for peace.
Oh, the peace.
Remember those quotes about men wanting their relationships to be a sanctuary?
Yes.
Like a place to escape the chaos and pressure
So escape it all.
of the world.
And recharge.
And isn't that what we all crave, though?
I think so.
Regardless of gender.
That sense of belonging,
Right.
that safety, that intimacy,
Yeah, feeling understood and accepted.
you know for who you truly are.
So after all this unpacking,
Yeah.
what have we learned?
What's the takeaway?
What can we all learn from this deep dive into the minds of men?
A lot.
It seems like it all boils down to a few key things.
Yeah. Like what?
Respect, clear communication,
Uh-huh.
and understanding the pressures that they face.
Right. And it's not about fixing men.
No,
It's about fostering empathy,
right.
creating a more balanced dynamic.
More fulfilling for everyone.
Uh,
It's about recognizing that men and women are different.
We are.
But those differences don't have to divide us.
Not at all.
They can actually enrich our relationships
And enrich them.
if we just approach them with curiosity,
Uh-huh.
compassion, and a willingness to learn.
Learn.
And I think maybe the most important thing
What's that?
is to remember that behind all those quotes,
Yeah.
behind those generalizations and stereotypes,
Uh,
there are individual men
real people.
with their own unique experiences.
Right. Their own hopes and fears.
Yeah, their own ways of loving and wanting to be loved.
And so the key is to approach each other with an open mind
Right.
and a willingness to listen,
Let's,
truly hear what the other person is saying,
yeah.
even if it's not what we want to hear.
And maybe through that process of listening and learning,
Yeah.
we can start to bridge that gap
Yeah.
between what men want and what women want
Mhm.
and create those relationships that are truly fulfilling
Yes.
for both partners.
For both.
So there you have it, folks.
Mm.
A glimpse into the complex world of male desire.
Complex for sure.
But this is just the start of the conversation.
Right?
Now it's up to you guys to keep exploring,
Keep listening.
keep listening,
Sure.
keep challenging your own assumptions.
And keep the conversation going.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a pleasure.